Engines are the heart and soul of every car. So, if they are poorly refined, unreliable, not powerful enough, or don't fit the build of the vehicle, cars with badly designed engines are less likely to become commercial successes or achieve classic status. You'd think automakers would avoid making such a costly mistake, but you'd be surprised just how many good cars have been let down by their engines. Let's find out together, starting off with number 20, 1967 Austin 3-liter. Although it's somewhat of a stretch grouping the 1967 Austin 3-liter with great cars, it was quite an interesting vehicle and would have reached even greater heights had it been given a better engine. The design of the car was on the right track, featuring a luxurious and large cabin with a smooth, straight six borrowed from the Austin Healey 3000. Unfortunately, what it had in comfort, it lacked severely in handling and drivability. To cap the mediocre experience, over 9,000 units of the production line were scrapped due to premature engine failure. Thankfully, saving an extra 9,000 people from experiencing this failure of a car. Or did you? Let us know below. Number 19. Alfa Romeo 156 GTA. The GTA series of cars were excellent vehicles, so when the automaker decided on front-drive GTAs, it felt like they were onto something. Unfortunately, they never found that spark, as the Alfa Romeo 156 GTA was no commercial success. While this car could very well go down in history as an underrated future classic, as it even managed to escape the many visible flaws of Alfas of its time, it had a pretty nasty flaw of its own. All Alfas are the same after all, eh? It seemed the Alfa automakers just got better at hiding their shortcomings. Unfortunately, this flaw wasn't negligible. It was the engine. The build quality was what you'd expect of an Alfa, and the performance was outstanding for its time. However, the choice to slap a V6 transversely under the hood of the car should have meant some jail time for whoever came up with that idea. The most obvious issues were torque and weight being way off, but the worst addition yet was the open differentials used rather than slip differentials, which only made the car much less desirable. Would you overlook this flaw in the Alfa Romeo 156 GTA for its great performance? Let us know in the comments. Number 18. Citroën SM. Few cars from French manufacturers have matched the utter beauty and zazz of the Citroën SM. It was the perfect successor to the DS series, featuring eye-catching styling that fascinated any onlooker. But the SM wasn't just beauty and no brains. The interior was stacked with next-level technology that made for a mouth-watering deal. That was until you found out that powering this front-wheel class act was a Maserati mid-engine. On paper, the addition of a supercar engine sounds like the cherry on top of an already stacked specs list. However, that wasn't the case because the SM could have done with better handling, drivability, and reliability. Do you think the beauty and pizzazz of the Citroën compensate for its engine problems? Let us know below. Number 17. 2007 to 2010. Buick Enclave, GMC Acadia, and Cadillac CTS. For the 2004 model year, General Motors developed the high-feature engine in a partnership between Holden and Cadillac. This engine has made its way into many different GM vehicles over time, featuring in different modifications and configurations. Its widespread adoption by the automaker is because the engine was quite effective when it worked. The 2.8 and 3.6-liter variants of the high-feature engine that were used in the 2007 to 2010 models of the Cadillac CTS, GMC Acadia, and Buick Enclave were prone to serious problems. It took until 2012 before GM claimed to rectify the issue. However, even then, it persisted. The problem with the high-feature engine was the timing chain, which is designed to time the opening of valves with hydraulic cam phasers. For this system to work, the chain must be well lubricated and tight. Unfortunately, cars with this engine experienced chain slackness, which tended to start as a rattling sound under the hood. If left unrepaired, the rattling spiraled into engine misfiring and metal shavings appearing in the oil. In worse cases, the engine failed entirely and needed an overhaul. However, that was hardly practical since a new engine costs up to $7,000. Even when the problem was caught early, a chain replacement set you back an eye-watering $3,000. For such a recurring issue, these GM cars were not worth the hassle. Which of these GM cars gave you hell? Let us know in the comments. Number 16. 1974 Triumph Dolomite Sprint. The 1974 Spring was the brainchild of the Dolomite Saloon by Triumph. It combined luxury and performance and was meant to be the next line of standout cars from the automaker. Unfortunately, Triumph made a costly mistake in fitting the Spring with an all-alloy engine, which suffered catastrophic overheating problems that warped cylinder heads and blew off head gaskets. You'd know you were in for a hard time at the mechanic when your viscous fan packed up. That was usually the first sign. What do you think Triumph should have done differently? Share your thoughts below. Number 15. Audi A6. The Volkswagen Audi Group created a 1.8-liter turbo engine in the late 90s, which was mostly used in several lines of cars between 1997 and 2004. Although this engine was a popular choice, with its 4-cylinder configuration and great power offering on a budget, it was also an engineering nightmare. It would literally give you sleepless nights. A bunch of design flaws turned the EA113 or EA827 varieties, in particular, into some of the worst engines on the market. Some of the more luxurious car lineups like the Audi A6, some Volkswagen, and the Skoda Octavia were unfortunate enough to have been paired with these dysfunctional engines. But what was so wrong with the 1.8-liter turbo engine? For one, the engine consumed oil as if its life depended on it. Worse still, it was prone to oil sludge formation, which cost a pretty penny to fix. If that's not terrible enough already, the engine also came with faulty coil packs. So, if you wanted to spend less time at the mechanics and keep more money in your pocket, you were better off driving anything else. How great is the oil consumption of your car engine? Share with us below. Number 14. 1972 Jensen Healey. The 1972 Jensen Healey was a 2-seater sports car born by Healey and Jensen, who were partnering to create a vehicle. It was the first production car in the world to carry an engine with 4 valves per cylinder. The Lotus engine should have made this collaboration one for the ages. Unfortunately, the need to comply with safety legislation in the US meant that certain things had to be changed, like the looks. If that wasn't bad enough, the Lotus engine had a better name than its performance. It had serious overheating issues that led to warped cylinder heads. But this was only one of the many problems that buyers experienced with the car. Do you think another engine would have made the Jensen Healey a great car? Let us know in the comments. Number 13. Triumph Stag. Triumph is an English automaker that went out of business in 2006. But how did this company go from being one of the pioneers in the British Isles to becoming defunct? The Dolomite Sprint was not their only mistake, see? Triumph fitted multiple 2-seater roadsters with small 4-cylinder engines. They found moderate success with these vehicles in Britain before shipping them to the US. One such vehicle that made it to America was the Stag, which Triumph fitted with a new Triumph V8 engine. Although the company already had guaranteed success in their coffers with the Rover V8 engine, they thought of building a V8 from scratch. How did they achieve this, you ask? Simple math. 4-cylinder plus 4-cylinder equals V8. Unfortunately, in creating this strange concoction, the engineers kept the water pump placement of the 4 cylinders such that when they tilted it in the shape of a V, the water pump was at the highest point of the V, even higher than the radiator cap. You can already see why this is a bad idea. For one, the pump could not access water for cooling easily. Furthermore, if there was ever a leak, the pump was the first part to lose water, which meant severe overheating issues that made the engine fail. Finally, with how high the pump sat, it couldn't be filled completely. Then came the problematic use of head studs. About half of all head studs in the engine were placed perpendicular to the block, like in many other cars, with the other half at an angle. This was bad news given the overheating problems, which led to warping and stretching, and made it nearly impossible to fix. You know a car is bad when customers begin replacing their engines with Buick or Ford engines rather than fixing the Triumph V8. Naturally, sales were poor, and the company never attempted to make a V8 again. What engine would you replace the Triumph V8 with and why? Let us know in the comments. Number 12. Hummer H1, 1992. The Hummer brand of vehicles came from the military lingo Humvee and was initially created for the armed forces as a mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle, HMMWV. That meant indestructibility was a requirement by default. While this was mostly the case, the H1s produced from 1996 to 2000 came with a turbo diesel engine under the hood. Interesting.